heartburn, acid reflux, indigestion. If this is something that you struggle with, you are in for a treat. Today, I am diving into this topic. So, welcome back to another episode here. And I just want to really dive into this because this is something that is often very misunderstood, misdiagnosed by doctors, and something that so many people struggle with and live with on a day to day basis. And it's really frustrating. And I want you guys to really tune in here, take notes, because I'm going to give you some tools, tactics, information, and steps that you can take in order to help your acid reflux. And also, just want you to understand that you don't have to just live with this. So many people just live with this and they don't know that there's actually a true fix to it, but it's also understanding why it's happening in the first place. So many people are told that heartburn is due to too much stomach acid. And while this makes sense, certainly you have heartburn, it feels like acid is coming up your from your stomach through your esophagus, and you get heartburn in your chest and in your throat. Doesn't it make sense that that would be too much stomach acid? Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you right now that it's the opposite, and I will tell you why this is the case. So, the function of stomach acid is you have to have adequate amounts of stomach acid and pepsin. So, it's called hydrochloric acid, HCl, HCI, and pepsin in your stomach. And that's the stuff that lines and coats the part of your stomach. It's your stomach lining. And this is really, really important because when you get food that comes into your stomach, it's almost like a butter churn. It churns and it's digesting and it's absorbing the foods that are coming in. And when you don't have adequate amounts of these things in your stomach, well, you can't digest things properly and absorb these things properly. Therefore, this can cause things to digest poorly and kind of ferment in your stomach, which sounds really gross, and then backs up. Okay. And one of the things to understand of this is there are actually some health things that and symptoms that are connected to this. So, iron deficiency and anemia are connected to low stomach acid as well as B vitamins. So, if you're low in B vitamins and you're low in iron, then the chances are really, really high that you have low stomach acid. And a lot of people have low stomach acid and they don't know. And this also coincides with your digestive enzymes. You need to have proper digestive enzymes along with these other two things in your stomach in order to digest and absorb your food properly. Now, the term you are what you eat is not true. A lot of people believe, well, if I just eat healthy, I will be healthy. And while you will be healthier, it doesn't mean that your body is what you eat. If you eat broccoli, doesn't mean you're broccoli, right? You are what your body can digest and absorb. So if you're eating really healthy, you're eating a good protein diet, fruits, vegetables, the typical healthy foods that we think of, but your body is not digesting and absorbing those nutrients and vitamins and minerals and iron and proteins and all of that stuff properly, then you're not utilizing the nutrients that are coming in, which is really, really difficult. And so, what happens when you have acid reflux, and we're going to call it heartburn here for the sake of this episode, a lot of people reference to heartburn, it's the same thing. What happens is you bring food in, and if you have low stomach acid, you don't have enough to digest those foods properly. And then what happens is it kind of ferments and then it comes back up the esophagus and it starts burning your chest and your throat. Now, there's other things that can contribute to this as well, which I'll touch on. But in general, this is like a large percentage of people that struggle with this. And the reason it's coming back up there is because it's not digesting properly because you don't have the adequate amounts of HCl and pepsin in your stomach. And so when you go to the doctor and you say, I have heartburn, they don't really do any kind of like testing for it, but they will tell you that you have too much stomach acid. What do they do after that? They put you on PPIs, protein pump inhibitors or antacids, or some people tell you to go take Tums. Like they're all kind of in the same category. But what this does is these things are made to help lower your stomach acid. Okay. You already have low stomach acid though, right? So what it's doing is it's masking the symptoms and it's not fixing the overall problem. So what you want to do instead is you want to figure out why you have low stomach acid in the first place, and I'll walk you through those things. And you want to know and understand what you can do about it. And I have something for you on that as well. So if you are someone that's struggling, really tune in and I want you to understand these things. This was a few years ago when I was working as a personal trainer. I was having really bad heartburn and I didn't understand why because I was eating healthy. I worked out, I was super lean, had a lot of muscle, and I was having this terrible heartburn and I couldn't figure it out. I went to the doctor, and you know what they did? They gave me protein pump inhibitors, PPIs. And I ended up looking at the on the back of the package and I was like, I don't even know what these ingredients are. And there was a whole bunch of different food dyes in there, which I was already in that phase of not wanting to take in food dyes. And so I didn't take them because I was like, this isn't going to help me. It may alleviate the symptoms for a bit, but it certainly isn't going to fix the overall problem. And that's when I learned. Plus, then after like I went to school as well, I learned that, oh, it's not because I have too much stomach acid, it's actually because there wasn't enough there. Now, here are a couple other things that contribute to that. So, if you're in estrogen dominant or if you are pregnant, your estrogen levels are going to be higher. And this heartburn is very, very common for women that are pregnant. And what happens is if you have excess estrogen or high amounts of estrogen, which you should have when you're pregnant, especially in that towards the end of second trimester into the third trimester, your estrogen levels are going to shoot up. And sometimes that's when the heartburn gets worse. Well, what happens is estrogen like loosens your limbs, loosens your muscles to prepare for birth. And in general, like if you are someone that has excess estrogen, your muscles and your joints and things are going to be more relaxed. And what can happen is that sphincter that's supposed to, from your esophagus into your stomach, that's supposed to close up when that food hits the stomach, that's supposed to close up so that the food can't come back up. But if you have high estrogen levels, that can open up more than it should. And that's when the acid and the food and stuff can come back up and cause that heartburn. Now, there's also an anatomically a thing that can be going on with your esophagus and your sphincter where it's just not closing. And that's more of a surgical type of thing that you need to get looked at if that's not happening because it's just anatomically not working properly and it's not closing like it should. Like that's trouble. And you want to make sure that you get that taken care of. And then the other thing that can contribute to it is if you have a hernia and the hernia is like pressing on things and stuff, that can cause heartburn as well. The those are more rare things than someone with just low stomach acid. A couple other things that can contribute to heartburn and low stomach acid as well is if you have H. pylori, that's a bacteria that's in your stomach. It's brutal if it's out of control. And sometimes you literally can't get it to go away without an antibiotic, but the treatment protocol and everything is really, really important. So if you have H. pylori, you'll probably experience that a little bit more as well because it's that bacteria. Parasites can contribute to it as well. So there are other things that can contribute to it, but the chances of your stomach acid being low, even with these other things, are still high. So you still want to address that. Stomach acid helps to absorb, specifically break down B12 and protein. Okay. Those are some of the hardest things to break down. And then the iron as well. And that's where it go back to, hey, if you have iron deficiency or anemia or B12 deficiency, you need to take a good look at, do I have low stomach acid and is there something that I can do about it? And the answer is always yes, you can do something about it. Some symptoms of B vitamin deficiencies and iron deficiencies are brain fog, fatigue, mood changes, even shortness of breath and cold feet and hands, hair loss. I remember when I was a teenager, I was iron deficient. I may have been anemia and didn't even know it. I had a lot of health issues in my teens when I was still a little Amish girl. And I remember getting bruises, like really, really quickly and easily being bruised. And then I learned there was a chiropractor that we were seeing, and that chiropractor taught us that easy bruising can come from being anemic or iron deficient. But also, I had some pretty traumatic things happen in my teenage years. I was under a lot of stress. So it could have been that as well. But the other thing to know, some root cause contributors to your low stomach acid also is if you have an overstressed life. So stress is one of the number one things that will lower your stomach acid. So if you have a high stress life and then you're eating while you're stressed, like that's a problem. And so you want to make sure that when you are eating that you calm the nervous system down. That's why prayer and gratitude right before a meal is so powerful, because you're calming that nervous system down and you're getting yourself into a settled, calm place to make sure that you're in that peaceful environment when you're eating. And that's why eating on the go, eating in your car is not good for your digestion and your stomach acid. Like, you need that time to be calm. You got time. We get time. We got time if we make time, right? If you're like, oh, I'm so busy, I don't got time to eat, I gotta always eat on the go. Well, guess what? Your health is asking for it. And so if you want to make time for yourself, you gotta sit down, take time and gratitude to eat. Another thing that can lower things is not chewing your food. So enzymes are directly connected to also your HCl. So your digestive enzymes, most people are low in digestive enzymes. And if you're low in digestive enzymes, you're going to have bloating, indigestion, constipation, sometimes diarrhea, because you need adequate amounts of digestive enzymes as well. And your digestion starts in your mouth. When you start salivating, if you walk into a donut shop and you smell those donuts and you start salivating, that is when your digestion starts. And that's when your enzymes kick in. So when you're salivating, you're creating enzymes, and those enzymes are what help digest your food. So there's a 7-step process of your digestive system. And the very first one is in your mouth when you start salivating. And that is why the health of your mouth is so incredibly important. If you don't have a healthy mouth, the chances of you having a healthy digestive system from the neck down are much, much lower. So you gotta take care of your teeth and your mouth. Healthy mouth microbiome is so essential. And some things that can actually lower your microbiome in your mouth is literally Listerine and mouthwash. So you know how on those containers, those big containers of Listerine and mouthwash, and it kills 99.9% bacteria. Well, guess what? It's also killing the good stuff. Okay? You don't want to kill all the bacteria in your mouth. What it does is it throws off your microbiome, your pH levels, your enzymes, your saliva. It throws those things off. And so they're not good for you, period. Same thing with toothpaste. The toothpaste that is packed full of fluoride and all kinds of stuff, and they make all these claims about killing all the bacteria and stuff. Well, you're probably killing off too much. And so you want to do something that is more of a mineral based toothpaste, non-fluoride. I love Ricewell. Ricewell is like my top toothpaste company. And they have a mouthwash, they have a non-fluoride floss, they have the mineral-based toothpaste. In fact, I have an affiliate link for them with a discount code. I'll make sure to share that. But your digestion starts in your mouth, and it starts by what you're using to take care of your mouth. The toothpaste and the floss and the mouthwash, that's where it really starts. So if you want a healthy digestion from the neck down, you gotta take care of the microbiome in your mouth. Now, eating real fast is another one that will lower your digestion and your HCl and your pepsin. And that's why sitting down and being calm and then just being like, all right, I had chew about 15 to 20 times when I take this bite. And the reason for this is to break it down more before it gets into your stomach. So the more you chew your food, the less your digestive system has to work on that food once it hits the stomach. So you're chewing, 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 and then it goes into your stomach. That's just like phase two of digestion breakdown. And then it's going to carry on through other phases, small intestines, large intestines. And by the time it gets into your large intestine, your intestines, your body really shouldn't have to break much more down. It should have, majority of it should have been done. And so if you're like eliminating and you're still seeing like whole pieces of food in there, beans, corn, whatever, it just means that you didn't chew well enough and your body was not able to break it down. And that's where gut issues start to happen, constipation, bloating, all of those things is all connected to that. And speaking of enzymes, if you want to use digestive enzymes, the ones that I use for biooptimizers, I've talked about them before, those are literally a game changer. And I'll talk a little bit more about those later when I talk about what you can do to bring your stomach acid up. The overuse of PPIs and antacids is another one that is going to lower your stomach acid. So you want to make sure that you're not relying on those and you are focusing on what can I do on a natural aspect to make sure that I'm helping. So if you're low in iron, one of the things that you want to do is, let's just say, for example, you're eating a steak. There's iron and there's B vitamins in that steak. But if you have low stomach acid, it's going to be harder for you to break that down and utilize the iron and the proteins and stuff with that. But the other thing that can contribute to that is if you have dairy or caffeine with that steak, the dairy and the caffeine both prohibit you from digesting and absorbing and utilizing those nutrients from that steak. So let's say, for example, I have a gal or a client that is anemic or low in iron. What I will suggest that they do is when they're eating meat for that iron, and we want to make sure that we get as much as we can from that, we're going to avoid caffeine and dairy with that meal in order to make sure that we're getting what we need from that. But a way to enhance the absorption of it is something that is acidic. So like a tomato, if you were to eat that steak with a tomato, that tomato is going to help you digest and absorb that food better, and the iron and the B vitamins. Same with an orange. Like sometimes when I eat a steak, I'll literally eat an orange right before I eat the steak. And I know now that I've prepped my system to be able to utilize those nutrients better. Another thing that you can do is take an HCl supplement. So HCl breakthrough from Bioptimizers. I like to package that with the digestive enzymes, and I'll make sure these are in the show notes as well. But that HCl and the masszymes together are phenomenal to help you build up your HCl in your stomach so that you can digest and absorb these foods better. Now, the next thing that I want to share with you is I also have an 8-week gut course. And that 8-week gut course, I have an entire lesson in there on just stomach acid. I go even more in depth in it than I'm talking about here. And I also, in the homework of that lesson, so with this 8-week gut course, it has 8 lessons, video lessons in it. And with each video lesson comes a PDF download with homework and steps for you to take, home remedies and all kinds of stuff. And with the stomach acid lesson, you get a step-by-step guide on some tests that you can take at home to test your stomach acid to see like where you're at. And it's very easy to do, not complicated at all. And then a step-by-step process on what you can do in order to help you get that stomach acid up. But I would highly recommend going and grabbing that course. It's literally only $99 for the entire course for lifetime access. It's a one-time payment. You get lifetime access to it, and it's loaded with so much information and things that you can do to help your gut heal, with the stomach acid just being one of them. And these are all the things that are so incredibly important for your overall health and digestion. And if you don't know this yet, 90% of illnesses start within the gut. And so if you want your body to heal and you want to feel good, you got to focus on these things as well. And I would beg to say that the number one thing that you should work on is your digestion, because once you start digesting and absorbing your foods better, then the rest of your body can respond better because you're able to utilize those nutrients that are coming in. Like I've had people before that I've worked with, and they were eating pretty healthy. They were cooking majority of their meals. They weren't eating enough protein, but in general, they were cooking most of their meals and doing pretty well with all of that. But they did not feel good. They weren't seeing any results, like all of these things. And so once we started really honing in on like these types of things, making sure we're getting their body the enzymes that they need, the vitamins and minerals that they need, and just adjusting some things dietary wise to make sure that they're utilizing things as much as they possibly can with the food that is coming in, complete game changer. So a couple things I want you to remember. Heartburn is a signal from the body. You're not a broken system. Healing starts by addressing the root causes, not masking the symptoms. And I want you to understand that when it comes to heartburn, it's just a signal. It's a signal that your body's giving you that something is off, and the antacids aren't the answer. You got to figure out what else is going on. And the steps that I've given you, make sure you're chewing your food, make sure you're thinking about your oral health, and make sure that you're de-stressing before you sit down. Don't always eat on the go. Make sure you're preparing and being in a good place. And then I want to invite you in to go over and get that gut course and really start diving into that stuff. And that will be a total game changer for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning into the Lizzie Ens Show. If you're ready to take the next step to transforming your health and life, visit www.undietyou.com for all my resources and to book your consultation today. Don't forget to subscribe and join me each week for more tips, inspiration, and conversations with phenomenal guests to help you feel your best. See you guys next week.